Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm in Azure. Hope you all are doing good and safe wherever you are. Thanks for all your love and support towards my channel. So it is giving me a boost up to create more and more videos. Thank you for that. So today I'm going to continue my Azure Bicep series. So I will leave a link in my description if anyone missed it to see my earlier videos where we have talked about what is Azure Bicep, how to install Bicep, and how to create Bicep files. Also, we have spoken about how to create CI/CD pipelines, which will help you to automatically deploy your resources into your Azure environment. So today we will continue on the Azure Bicep module. So let's get start on that. Yeah, so basically the point is what is Azure Bicep modules? So Bicep module is nothing but a simple Bicep file, how you do any other Bicep file. But basically, when you create a Bicep file, you will tend to create a one Bicep file for one resource, like one for storage account, one for web app, one for function app, one for database, which is okay when you are doing a POC or some kind of testing. But if you are in a production environment, typically for a complex environment, you will have some resources that are interdependent. Let's say if you have a virtual machine, which is actually dependent on a network and a disk. So it is a good idea if you have all that in one single file and you encapsulate all that together and you put it in a file and you can refer it in different file. That is, you will have all the resources in one file and you can point it in main.bicep file, something like that. So the benefits that you will get with your bicep file is one is reusability, the other one is encapsulation, and the other one is composability. So what does this mean is after you create a module, you can reuse it at multiple projects. That means if you have a one module for storage, then you can use the same one with your different projects or else different workloads. Something similar, you can also share your modules within your team or within your organization with a different people like who are using the who has exactly same requirement. That how can you can share that we will discuss in later part. But the second point is encapsulation. Encapsulation means a module will help you to keep all your reloaded resources together and it will encapsulate all your resources. For example, when you define a not a virtual machine, when you are define a function app, you typically deploy the app and a hosting plan for your app and a storage account to store your app's metadata. Then these three components are defined separately, but they represent a single logical grouping of resources. So it makes more sense to define them all together as a module. Then your main template, that is your main.bicep file, doesn't need to be aware of the details what you need. You just refer that particular template where you have defined all your related resources and you can point to that particular bicep file by using this modules. And the third point is composability. That means after you create a set of modules, you can also compose them together and you can reuse them. For example, if you have one module for network, which will create network VNet, subnet, and routing rules, and one module to deploy your virtual machine, then you can actually have parameters defined inside your particular bicep files, and you will have some output keyword also defined, which will give you output. You can combine these two and you can reuse them. So that is the composability I'm talking about here. Then I'm going to show you the syntax for this, like how can you create a module and what are the values or key values that is inside this. So basically to create a module, you will need to use the module keyword like you see here. With the resources, you generally use resource in your bicep file, but in order to use your resource file, that is storage.bicep file or web.bicep file, you have to use this module keyword followed by your identifier, then the path to your file where your actual code resides, then your name to your module, then scope. If you want to deploy it to a resource group or a subscription, you can define your scope, And also if you have any parameters that are defined in your bicep file, you can point those parameters over here. And if your module is dependent on some other module or some other resource group, then you can add this depends on as well. So there are again two types. One is implicit and explicit. That again depends on how you define your module or resource. Then to take an example, so this is how it looks. You will just have the keyword module, and this is the symbolic name, and you are just referring to a bicep file, which actually talks about the storage account, and you will give a name to your linked deployment and some parameters. Right now, if you look at here, we are referring to a bicep file. Similarly, you can also refer to a JSON file. If you have an ARM template, you can also refer that too. So this is on the module syntax. I will show you this in the demo as well, how this actually looks. Now we will see how it actually works in the background. So we all know that when you try to deploy any resource into Azure, either to Portal or PowerShell or CLI or using some SDKs, at the backend it will create a service. It will basically create a something like a resource which is called deployment in the background. And you might have seen in Azure ARM templates as well with a resource type Microsoft.resources/deployment when you are trying to deploy it. So basically, whenever you try to deploy your bicep file, it will in the backend it will create an ARM template with a nested template for your resource, and then it will automatically try to create your deployment resource on your behalf, and it will deploy all your resources. So I will show you how I mean by converting my bicep to ARM template, and where exactly we can refer this, I mean where you can point this. So let's just switch to the demo. So I will just bring my Visual Studio code over here, and this is the same project that we have earlier worked on. So where we have a separate module folder that we have created to keep all our modules. So I and main.bicep file, which is actually pointing on to this modules. So when you look at here, I have defined a resource. My resource is a resource group. So this main.bicep file, when I deploy this, it will basically create me a a resource group first with the name demo resource group. So I will just rename it to I'm in Azure. And then I am actually having something called module over here. Now, if you see here, to this module, I'm giving a symbolic name called STG module. So it is storage account. So I just put it like this. And this is pointing to a different file, which is actually inside my modules folder. So that is this storage.bicep file. And you see this is the storage deploy some name that I have given to my template deployment. And I have some parameters inside my storage.bicep file. Those are the parameters I have. If I want to deploy it at a different scope, I can give a different scope, but I just want to deploy it to this resource group, that whatever I'm going to create. So that is the scope I am giving here. That's in this. Let me just take you to this storage.bicep file. What is inside this? So I have a parameter for storage prefix, one parameter for the SKU, and one parameter for location. And the SKU is defaulted to standard LRS. And in order to have a unique name for my storage account, I'm going to just use a prefix followed by the unique string from my for my resource group ID. And you will see the resource group definition over here altogether. So let me show you how we deploy this. I mean, I have created a video how to deploy it by using a CI/CD. You can follow that too if you want some automation to that. But I will show you first the build of this. Like I will just build this and I will show you. So I can just right click. I can write the command az bicep build and followed by the file name, or else I can use this beautiful bicep extension that will be available in your visual code. So I will just build this. Now, when you build this, you will see a file called main.json file, which is your ARM template. When you look at here, I mean, how it works in the background, that's what I am trying to tell you. So you will have something called resources. So the resource one is I have two deployments over here. One is the resource deployment and the other one is module deployment. So for your resource, it will generally create it will add it to the resource session. So you will see slash resources, then the name and in which location. But when you look at your module, so your module is actually transferred into a Microsoft.resource slash deployment. And inside that, it is by default, it is taking the incremental as a mod. And here you will have actual template of your deployment. So you have your variables, SKU. This is all coming from the your actual storage.bicep file. When you look at here, it is taking the variable 2 and all your deployment. So this is what I'm talking about, like it works from the backend. And you also see this depends on, this is implicit, depends upon, you haven't defined anywhere that one depends on the other, like something like depends parameter, but it is actually taking implicit dependence because you are actually referring demo.rg inside your module. So that is why this depends on also available automatically over here. So this is how it works in the background, and it just now you have to deploy it. So how can we deploy? I can just right click and deploy it from here, and I will just choose one subscription, then the location. If I have a parameter file, I can use that parameter file, or else I can just go and uh, put it as none. So it is asking me for the parameters, the parameters that I have defined in my main.bicep file, which is name.prefix. So I will give some prefix to this. So this prefix is actually used over here if you look at here. So, and this is actually referred in your storage.bicep file. So when I give it here and I create, it is asking me to create a parameters file. So I don't want it right now. So I'm okay with this. So when you see here, I started my deployment. You see the message saying started deployment. And in a sometime you will see this resource group creation followed by the deployment of your actual resources. Now it says the message, your deployment started and view your deployment in the portal. So let me just go to the portal to see the progress. Yeah. So you have your deployment over here, and let's see the template, input, output parameters all together. Yeah. So you have this resource group, which is I'm in Azure, automatically created, and now it started deploying your Microsoft.resource slash deployment, which actually deploy your storage account. So this is completed, but when you go to your template, it will show you two resources over here. One is for resource group and another one is deployment. And in your output, we have defined output as well. So which will actually give you the endpoint to your storage account. So that is also we have defined over here. Well, that covers my demo. So let me take you back to my deck. Yeah, we have talked about this, how it works in the background, how it creates demo and visualization. Visualization is something I actually missed to show you. So visualization in the sense, again, this extension, when you add it to your visual code, it has this beautiful visualization. When you open the visualization, it will show you what type of resources that you are going to deploy and how it is related. Now, if you see, I have two resources. One is demo resource group, and it is actually connected to my module. So this module is called STG module. If you look at here, now, I mean, I have created the one bicep file for web app, one for storage account earlier. Let me just uncomment this. Okay, so I have to Let me see what is this error. The specified module is missing the scope. Okay, so I have to add the scope, and the scope is same RG. And again, I'm going to refer the same bicep file one more time, the same bicep file, that is storage.bicep file, with a different deployment name here. This time it is also expecting some scope, so I will just give the scope. So I have right now, I have 3 modules defined in my main.bicep file along with my resource. Now, when you go to visualization, open a visualization, you will see a beautiful diagram showing over here. And this box shows one box for one module and the resource, and all are dependent on my demo.org. And inside my one module, that is web app, I have 2 resources that are defined. One is Azure ASP, Azure Service Plan, App Service Plan, and the other one is web app. So that is how it looks on the visualization part. So that covers my demo and visualization. So what next, in the sense, that is in my upcoming video, I'm going to talk more on the scopes in my module, and also how can you share your bicep files with others, like within your organization or with your different teams. That is, you will create a repo. Right now, if you see here, you are actually pointing to a local file. This is module slash webapp.bicep, which is actually present in your folder or on your local machine. So instead of putting it in local machine, you can use a repo to store all your modules that I'm going to cover in my next video. So please stay tuned. That's all for today. If you have any questions or comments, any feedback, I will be happy to help you. Please put it in the comment section, and please like and share and subscribe to my channel. I am in Azure. If you like the content, and also please don't forget to hit the bell icon so that whenever I put a video, you will get notified. Thank you so much for your support. Bye.